Wow, what a devastating day it was at the trial of Douglas Garland. And I say devastating, I mean devastating for the evidence that we heard, but also devastating for the defense of Mr. Garland. He's accused of 3 counts of first-degree murder and the disappearance in late June of 2014 of Kathy and Alvin Lickness and their little grandson, Nathan O'Brien. And in the witness stand today was a scientist from the RCMP lab in Edmonton, Vivian Moorbutter, who is the most unlikely looking scientist you ever saw, in that she's this little tiny beautiful woman who doesn't look old enough to have gone to school, let alone graduate with a couple of master's degrees. Anyway, she's the DNA scientist in the case, and for all of these 3 weeks of this trial, we've been hearing from police officers and forensic lab techs and the like who have said, well, we tested this, we believe this was blood, it tested presumptively for blood. And today we heard from the horse's mouth. And it shows that when Crown Prosecutor Vicki Faulkner, in her opening statement a long time ago now, said that the Licknesses and Nathan O'Brien's DNA was found all over the Garland acreage. She wasn't kidding. They found DNA from the grandparents and the little boy, first of all over the house from which they were abducted, but then all over the Garland farm where he then lived with his elderly parents. DNA in the most unlikely places, you know, on a little tiny part of the rear license plate of his truck, on meat hooks, in his rubber boots, I think some even in rubber gloves. It was really kind of overwhelming. The DNA from the Lickness home was even, if possible, more awful, because it showed that in the spare bedroom of the home that night, there was blood from both Nathan and his grandma. And it certainly appears that Nathan stayed over that night because his grandparents were about to pack up and move and leave Calgary. And when his mom left on the evening of June 29th, the little boy and his grandma were kind of huddled watching TV, half asleep. I think they were asleep, actually, in the rec room of the house. And obviously, the grandmom woke up at some point and took the little boy to bed, and it appears from the evidence that she laid down with him, and that's where they shed blood together. Just a terrible story and a terrible day. That's it for me.